It is Browns Central today. Browns back at camp. We're getting reports out of camp. We got who went first in the quarterback derby and all these fun things to talk about. And there's one way to set the tone for Browns training camp, and that is to bring in a Hall of Famer, a Browns legend, a fan favorite. This man slings some beef these days. I mean that in a good way. It didn't come out the way I was hoping it would come out, but you can check out Hall of Fame beef at sixspringsfarms.com. That's farm, not farms. Joe Thomas joins us on the fan hotline. Joe, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, Nick. How's it going, man? Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's great to have you. It's like it really does now feel like camp has begun because you're here. We're talking with you where you're at with this team. So I guess we'll just start here. Coming off 3-14, where do you set your expectations for this Browns team?
Well, I think like anybody that follows the Browns, they know that it's going to kind of come down to quarterback play. We feel pretty good about the defense. I think we've improved our receiver room. I think our offensive line is solid again, maybe even a little better than last year. Running back, a little bit of a question mark, obviously, because of the Quinshon Judkins situation that he's dealing with right now. But if you get solid quarterback play, I think this is a team that can get into the playoffs, and if you get hot, they can make some noise. So I think that's kind of where the focus should be. It's like, hey, we can be a pretty good team if we put some things together and we get some of the young guys stepping up and we get some quality play from quarterback. We don't know who it's going to be for sure, but I would guess it's going to be Joe Flacco to start the season. So certainly all eyes are going to be on that quarterback position.
Joe, are you on your farm right now? Are you like on a tractor?
Well, it's kind of funny you said that because I almost missed the interview. I was on my skid loader. I was trying to hang a tree stand. You know, we're getting ready for the fall football season, deer season, and got in a real tight spot down in a hole with the skid loader, no service, but I was able to bushwhack my way out of there and sprint through the bean field to just get in the truck and be able to get enough service to call my friends over here, which would have been pretty sad. We've been talking about this interview for a couple of weeks, Nick, so if I would have missed it, I would have been real sad.
Yeah, so it's so funny you said this, Joe. I was on my tractor on our property this weekend, and somebody called me, and I'd lost. I was like, oh, I got to pick up this call. Turned it off, forgot to set the brake, and I'm on the phone, and the tractor started going backwards towards the lake, and I ditched the tractor and about broke my face.
Oh, whoa. We don't want to break that face. I mean, how are you going to make your money?
That's true. It's the moneymaker. This is so true.
Moneymaker. Yeah, so take a peek at my Instagram, Joe Thomas 73, as soon as I get more service to be able to add it up there on my Instagram reels. I put a little reel of where I am, which is in a real bad spot. So we're going to need a big tow truck, maybe even like a Chinook helicopter to pull me out of there.
All right, Joe, what kind of spot is Stefanski in with these quarterbacks? Have you ever seen a 4-quarterback competition?
That's a great question. If we had 4 at any point in my career, I'd believe you if you told me that, but I would also say we probably had none. So I think it's a little different situation than the times when we had a bounty of quarterbacks in our quarterback room, because I think there are some legitimate quarterbacks that could do some pretty good things this year. Obviously, everybody knows Joe Flacco and what he's done throughout his career, but there's been some pretty good early returns, I think, from Dylan Gabriel. The coaches have raved about how smart he is, how accurate he is. He's a playmaker throughout his career. I'm not saying that, he's going to be the starter, but I think he's somebody that you definitely want to watch during training camp and preseason. And obviously we know about Shedeur Sanders and where he fell to the Browns, but also like there's a big unknown with Shedeur where he could really be the first guy. And I think they're set up right now with low pressure, which is huge for a young quarterback, to be able to go out and make plays and have an opportunity to play free. And I think that's the best situation for a young quarterback, whether Joe Flacco has it the entire season or whether at some point in the season he gives it up and we see one of those other guys. So I think the quarterback room probably doesn't have any guys that are going to make the Pro Bowl this year, but I think there's some quality players in there that can make some plays and that gives some pretty good interest and some hope for the team this year.
So you mentioned Shedeur, and it's been really interesting to watch, where fans embrace him and where some fans maybe are still resistant because he's a quarterback that has a huge social media following. That's a big part of what he does. How big of a deal, like in that locker room, how does a social media superstar meets quarterback? How does that fare in the locker room?
Well, I think that most of the guys in today's NFL and the Browns locker room are pretty comfortable with having celebrities on Instagram and social media. It might have been a little bit different when I was playing because, I mean, I really didn't even have social media. I mean, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff came out when I was in the middle of my career. So I think maybe at that time, some of the older guys would have maybe looked down on him a little bit and said, oh, why don't you focus on football? But it's just so well accepted and so common and normal these days. And I think Shedeur gets maybe a little bit more flack than he should about his following because it's not like he's doing crazy things and posting ridiculous Jake Paul videos, you know, just trying to be outrageous for clicks. I mean, he's just really famous because, one, his dad was one of the most flashy, famous, flamboyant NFL players of certainly our generation. And Shedeur had a very successful career. People were interested in him because of his dad. And then the success that he had throughout his college career. So I think he's very popular for a lot of reasons, but none of them are the reasons that maybe a Johnny Manziel was really popular, and that kind of leaves the Browns fans with some scars about quarterbacks that have this huge following coming into the league.
Are people being too hard on Kenny Pickett?
That's a good question. I guess not being in Cleveland, I don't get it every single day like you guys do, but I guess I'm not hearing that fans are too hard on him. I mean, he was a guy that didn't work out in Pittsburgh, and you pick him up because he's got some talent. You want to see, hey, you know, is he somebody that might still have something there? Maybe it wasn't the right situation. Maybe he didn't have the coaching that he needed in Pittsburgh. And so I don't think they're really counting on him for much, and they're hoping that, yeah, he could be a good player for us, but I don't think he's one of the guys that the team is counting on. So I don't think that he really has super high expectations within the building. But I could be wrong about that. I mean, I haven't been out there to watch him yet. I'll be out there the 1st of August watching training camp and working training camp. So I'm really excited to see all these guys and just kind of get my first impressions with my own eyes on a lot of these guys, obviously everybody, but Joe Flacco.
I'll send you some clips of things I've said. Joe, what's more important?
No, it was Nick.
Yeah,
what you should have said is Nick being too critical.
Yes,
basically.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we're saying. So what's more important to the locker room, a quick resolution to the quarterback derby or a thorough search?
I would say quick if you have to have one, because I think the quick answer would be Joe Flacco, because he's the known quantity. He's the guy that everybody's comfortable with. So if it was a quick decision, I think everybody's going to say, yep, he knows the offense. He can still sling the ball. He's going to put everybody in the right spot. He's going to make the right audibles. He's going to get us where we need to be so we can operate efficiently, and that individually all the players can focus on their job. Because the worst part about having a quarterback who's young and maybe inexperienced is now everybody's worrying about what he's doing. And then you're not thinking about what you have to do, which it's human nature to do that, but it's really a bad thing. And I think it causes a lot of distractions and disruption within the offense, within a team, when you don't know who that leader is, who's your quarterback. Because even if you're a wallflower, if you're the starting quarterback, you are the unquestioned leader of that team. And so guys want to know who they're supposed to look to in times of trials and tribulations. So I think a quick resolution is the most important thing.
DeJuan Jones is down about roughly 60 to 70 pounds. He looks much skinnier than what he was last year, which I would imagine is going to be a good thing. But like, from your perspective, how different is it playing with such a massive shift and losing all that weight and your body composition just being way different than what it was in previous years?
Well, it all depends on how he lost the weight. You know, if he committed himself to diet and nutrition and he was losing it slowly and maintaining his muscle mass, I think what you're going to see is still a mountain of a man, but with added quickness, mobility, probably going to be a little bit more resistant to injury. So I would say that is the best version of himself. He's going to feel great. He's going to be in great shape, because throughout DeJuan's career, he's a big man. And being a big person, you get hot, especially in training camp, you get tired, and then you lose your technique, you lose your focus. And if he's feeling a difference in his conditioning, if he's feeling a difference where he's not getting tired, he can continue to focus on his technique, he's going to make leaps and bounds gains with his technique and with his performance now that he's over there on the left tackle spot.
Browns legend, Hall of Famer Joe Thomas on the fan hotline here with Nick and Jonathan, breaking down all the things we're talking about here with the Browns in training camp. One of the biggest storylines, and I was happy to hear it from the Browns was the hiring of Mike Bloomgren, which is kind of taking them back to a very similar type offensive line blocking scheme that Bill Callahan ran that they had such success with. How big of an impact do you think that is for this team going back to that Callahan-type blocking scheme?
Well, they've got a lot of the same guys that had a ton of success with that scheme, and I think it fits the quarterbacks that we have. Obviously, we tried to make that switch because we thought Deshaun Watson was your franchise quarterback. He was more comfortable in the shotgun. Shotgun's not as easy to run your play action stuff out of. And so it was more of a college-type offense with the zone reads and the RPOs. But I think going back to what was their bread and butter, what Stefanski has always known, it's just a comfort factor. And I always thought that the best offensive coordinators that I had, and I had 9 of them, so I had a lot to choose from, were the guys that created their own offense. Kyle Shanahan, right? Like, yeah, his dad started it, but he took what his dad did and he made his own offense. He made it his own. The guys that always struggle were the ones that said, okay, these are the players that I have, so I'm going to do this. And you're going to know the offense, but it's those little tweaks that you have to make every single week, those little special plays that you have to piggyback off of what you did earlier in the season with different formations that I think you lose. And it's the difference between, you know, somebody that is a professor that wrote the textbook, that knows everything there is about the subject, that can easily pivot and change and is creatively changing what they're doing every single time they're on the field, versus a guy that, you know, is probably a really smart professor, but he's just teaching off of somebody else's textbook. And he's not going to be able to be nimble when it comes to being able to adjust to the speed of the changes of scheme and technique that happens throughout the course of an NFL season. So I think it's going to be a huge change for the better. And I think it fits with not only the quarterback, but also the linemen that we have. And, you know, depending on what happens in the running back situation, though, I think having that power run game with the zone blocking and then getting some of those pin pull concepts where you can get your big guards out on the edge, I think that just fits who we are. And it sets up deep shots in the play action passing game. So I think it's a welcome change and reversion back to what Stefanski and most of the guys in the offense really are good at.
Colin Cowherd started a convo today, and it's kind of just been gaining steam all throughout the day about Nick Saban and Arch Manning to the Browns next year. And, I mean, obviously there's a lot of layers attached to that. We don't even know if Arch Manning is going to come out. But do you feel like Nick Saban, you feel like you want to go back to the NFL and give that a go?
I got to believe that Nick Saban is smart enough to know that it's not as easy as just showing up in the NFL just because you're Nick Saban. I mean, he tried it once, and I think he learned that the NFL game is so different because you can't use recruiting as the enormous tool that he did when he was in college. He was certainly an amazing college coach, the best college coach of all time, no doubt, but a big component of his success was he was able to get the best players in the country every single year, and in the NFL, you don't have that luxury. So I just don't see him going back to the NFL, although if he was going to go back to coaching, he's probably not going to do it in college because I think he despises the NIL stuff and doesn't want to have to deal with that either because, oh, ding, 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 he doesn't have the recruiting advantage he used to have anymore. Everybody's paying their players now.
Ooh, there's a little shot there about the SEC play. I like it. No, I really enjoy that. You know me, I'm petty, Joe, so we enjoy any of it. You know, Joe Bitonio announces he's coming back this year. He hasn't quite said it's going to be his last year, but it could be. You know, as Joel starts to figure out, you know, whether this is it or not, what advice do you have for him in knowing that this could be his last year in the NFL?
Well, I would tell him enjoy every single have because when you're on the other side, you're going to wish you were still playing no matter what the career was that you had. Like, there's nothing like going in that locker room with your brothers and celebrating a victory or crying together when you have a defeat, or the sweat, the blood that you put on that field during training camp and then coming back and just shooting the breeze in the locker room. And just the idea of only thinking months is something that you just don't get in civilian life. And it's really a joy to be able to be a professional player. I loved every second of it, even when I was miserable and I told everybody I hated my life. It was the worst thing ever because everything hurts and I can't do another Q&A, but it's still way better than the alternative. And that's what I told Joel when we talked in the off season. I said, hey, if you're feeling healthy enough, play as long as you can, because there's nothing else in the world that will give you as much satisfaction and pay you as well as the NFL. And once you cut that cord and it's over, and there's no turning back. So If he's playing great and if he's feeling good, I hope he plays more than one. But I know as you get up there in the double digits, sometimes that body starts sparking back.
Joe, I thought it was really cool. Morgan Wallen wore your jersey, in Wisconsin, but it was the Badgers jersey, obviously. Do you have any confirmation that he'll wear a Joe Thomas jersey for when he plays in Cleveland in about a month's time?
Well, it was funny. I was listening to the whole Morgan Wallen soundtrack today when I was on my skid loader. It's something about being out in the farm and listening. So I'm hoping I'll be there because I'm going to call the Philadelphia Eagles preseason game and fly back to Cleveland. So I think night 2 I'll be there. So I'm hoping to be there. I haven't heard anything from them, but hey, if your buddy's with Morgan, maybe you could put in a good word.
I mean, you got to be doing the walkout, I would imagine, at a minimum if you're there.
That would be great. That would be a dream, but that's all I can say.
Here's what I'll tell you.
It's happening.
It's happening. If you need moral support, Joe, JP and I will be there for you. If you want us to walk out with you, that could be an intimidating stage. We'll do that for you.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, guys. That's what good friends are for, right?
I mean, that's all we're here for, is to be good friends. So obviously we started talking about Hall of Fame beef at Six Springs Farm. How's farm life going, buddy?
It's going great, man. It is a really exciting time on the farm for Hall of Fame beef because we've got our very first 100% Japanese Wagyu beef that's going to be available mid-August, right in the middle of training camp, getting ready for Labor Day. And I've had a few sneak peeks of it already. Cooked it for some friends that were in town from Germany out at the farm 2 weekends ago. And then Tyler Hubbard played at my Hall of Fame induction, and we became friends. So I saw him at his concert in Wisconsin last weekend, and he's like, "Hey, man, I hear about your beef. Can you bring some over? We'll cook it up before the show." So I brought some over, and needless to say, if you don't believe me, that's okay, but Tyler Hubbard says it's the best steak he's ever had in his life, so I trust that dude.
That is one hell of a write-up there. Joe, you're always so gracious with your time, man. Thank you so much for giving us it, and cannot wait till we get to see you in Cleveland here in a couple weeks.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on, guys. And go to my Instagram, Joe Thomas 73. I think I tagged you, Nick. As soon as that video comes up, you'll see where I was. And I got a fun Alice song on there. You'll appreciate it if you're a child of the 90s and you listen to any hard rock back in the day.
All right, we're giving it a go, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe.